Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We are coming to you from South Hadley, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining me is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Comu. He offers both public and private tours, as well as presentations of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, South Hadley, and Chicopee, Mass. Now, you actually lead these tours and give these presentations yourself, is that correct?
That's right. I give a lot of park tours.
Okay, so today he's going to be educating us on McNulty Park. So tell us about the history of McNulty Park.
Okay, this McNulty Park is a park across the street from Stop and Shop. It's officially on the start of Lincoln Street, and its history is pretty simple. In the very beginning, it was called the Lincoln Street Park. It was a private park, and then by the year 1964, Stop and Shop decided they don't need this park, and they just gave it to the city of Holyoke to use as a park. And from then, it started to get things placed inside it by the city. And it was dedicated officially on October 23rd, 1965. And since then, it's only gotten pretty much the same look, but it's gotten things placed inside of it to make it look like a real park, similar to other parks around Holyoke with sidewalks and walls. But it's a more extensive park than it would seem, and there's more history to it than it would seem also. And the reason why is because below the wall is still McNulty Park. It goes steeply downhill to the Connecticut River, to Log Cove, and also to a former beach. There was a beach down there in the 1930s. It was called Depression Beach. And remember that during the Great Depression of the 30s, people didn't have money to go places. And so what they did, they found places around Holyoke which could substitute for other activities that would be very low cost. And so along the shoreline of the Connecticut River, they developed a beach right at this area in McNulty Park, and it was called Depression Beach, and people would go down there and try to substitute it for any beach activities. And it was actually pretty large. You could find in that beach on any given weekend day in the summer, maybe 500 people would be down there. And for that reason, it became also popular that the city of Holyoke wanted to further develop it along the way. And I'm going to talk about that development later because it was so interesting.
Now, what are some of the modern amenities in this park that people might enjoy?
Okay, it has a parking lot off of Lincoln Street. And remember, it's the start of Lincoln Street off of Hampden Street. And there you can go in. It's mostly walking past, trying to get you to the benches that face out onto the Connecticut River. There's so many trees there nowadays that the view is not superb. It's a very similar park on a small scale to Pulaski Park, and you're supposed to have nice views of the river. And there was an artificial cove put down there called Log Cove. Once logging activities, which were strong in the past, were done with, you had an empty cove now. And that cove, through time, has developed eutrophication, which is bacteria on the surface, that it develops a green slime on the surface. It's not as pleasant to look at. But in the park itself, you got the walkways and the beautiful benches. You also have towards the front a rock that has a plaque on it telling you exactly when the park was dedicated. So it should be a lot nicer than it is because the trees some should be taken down so you get a nice view again.
So quickly before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to find out more information or sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there he has both videos of the various stops along each tour and also past and present photos of the historical sites throughout as well. And if you're interested in setting up a private tour, you can email him directly at bobcat4214 and they are perfect for fun and educational outdoor activities for the whole family or for your group parties, especially those special occasions and get-togethers. And they're also good just for getting outdoors for the day. So getting back to our interview, how does this park fit into its neighborhood?
It fits into its neighborhood because it's kind of extension of parks around it. people don't realize that the city of Holyoke owns most of the riverfront property. If they don't own it directly, the gas and electric department owns a sliver of it, and the railroad company owns a sliver of it. But also the rest inwards is owned by the city. And so Jones Point Park is more extensive than it seems, both inwards and out along the river. Same with Pulaski Park is more extensive than it seems. It extends up a lot more than people realize. And then this one in the middle of the two is more extensive than it seems. It used to go almost to the point that it touched the property of what Jones Point Park owned at one time. Now that's not true anymore. Some houses have been put in place. But at one time, Holyoke had a great riverfront presence. Now it's a little more subtle, it's not as extensive. And this is important because in the 1930s, again, I told you there were people who would go down there and they would enjoy the beach, even though it was not an official beach. Now, how does it fit in the neighborhood in the past? Of course, you have that answer. How does it fit in today? Well, it could be made a lot better. You could have walking trails from all these three parks connected. I know where they are, but most people don't know where they are. And they'd be good if they're wide and cleared, because people could then walk between these three parks, Jones Point out to McNulty Park, out to Pulaski Park, and get a good sense of what you're looking at in terms of trees and flowers and bird life. Maybe some signs should be put up to tell people. So McNulty Park looks like a small park, but it really is very extensive.
Now, what should this park evolve into?
Okay, well, it should evolve into better than it is now. Have a lot of trees cleared out so you get better views of the cove and the river and the mountain ranges beyond. It should be like a Pulaski Park, which is its views aren't that great, but in the winter at least you get some great views. And the same with McNulty Park, you have great views in the winter when these invasive trees have lost their leaves. Now, incredibly, in 1940, remember in 1930s it was Depression Beach. In 1940, 41 it still was. 1940, a person, an architect in Holyoke named William Howe, who had designed McCausland Wakeland, who was a hobbyist and into archaeologist, also was a hobbyist in making designs of parks. He made a very extensive design for this area, trying to improve it greatly. And you won't believe what the design included. I have it on my webpage, but it included a baseball diamond was supposed to be down below, and you're supposed to have parking places down there. The cove was supposed to have been cleared out and become a beach. You're supposed to have a couple sets of tennis courts down there. You're supposed to have roads coming in to the area from all directions, such that you can get in from the north, south, or center regions. You would have been able to get off of like the end of Taylor Street and go inwards, and also for the end of Prospect Street. But that was 1940. Since then, the Muller Bridge has been built up. The neighborhoods to the north have been built up with homes. And so William Howe's extensive design plan is not viable anymore. But something should be done, maybe simple trails, like I said before, down to each of the areas down below that are interested.
So, thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours, and we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can also tune in to a large selection of our other podcasts and much more at his website. Again, that's holyokecanaltour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours and more as they become available. Thank you for tuning in.